Welcome to Application, the TYPO3 Community Podcast. 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm Jeffrey A. McGuire. A lot of people call me Jam. And this is where we celebrate the TYPO3 community, sharing your stories, talking about your projects and the difference you make in, around, and with TYPO3 CMS. Today, my guest on the podcast is Rachel Foucard, TYPO3 Community Lead from France, member of the TYPO3 Association Board, and CTO from W-Seils in France. W-Seils is W-Seils. I can save you some Googling for that. I was fascinated to talk with Rachel about building relationships with her clients and the sales cycle today, selling solutions and not tools anymore. Rachel is also the UX lead in the TYPO3 Structured Content Initiative, and we talk about being not German and part of the TYPO3 community. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I enjoyed having it with Rachel. Small note, I called Rachel for our entire conversation and had a chat with her about that afterwards and apologized for my mispronunciation. She was very generous and said, "Oh, you just pronounced it the Spanish way. Rachel is completely fine." And I would also answer to Rachel. But FYI, everyone, it's Rachel Foucard. Please enjoy.
How are you? I haven't seen you in a couple of years, I guess, at this point.
Yes, I think the only time we met in real was in Paris. You came to help some of us of the French community to find out how we could better communicate about TYPO3.
Yeah. So that's actually a really interesting question to me. For a long time, I think people perceived the TYPO3 open source project, the TYPO3 CMS, as a German project. But there is quite a lot going on outside of Germany, and I feel part of what I hope to contribute to the project is to bring it to the attention of people outside of its traditional sort of Central European strongholds. But tell me about being in TYPO3 but not being German.
Well, you feel a little bit lonely sometimes because only when you meet marketing people, because when you meet more technical customers, I mean, the in IT people, you know, they are really, well, they think that TYPO3 is a better product than the others. It's not difficult to convince them. But in the marketing teams, they know better a product like WordPress or Drupal. And TYPO3 for them is something very technical and not user-friendly. Because they have in mind memories of the very old version of TYPO3, and they didn't go back to that interface since years. So for them, it's a very, you know, you have little buttons and it's a gray interface, very old-fashioned, complicated, and they have that in mind. So we have to show them the new interface first and show them also well, everything that was already in place at the very beginning of TYPO3, but now they think that, oh, yes, it's very useful finally, because when you have bigger project and a lot of website inside a unique platform, it's very useful for them. Yep. So you have to show them and show them again, you know, it's different now, and you see it's interesting for you.
So I think what we need right now on the screen is a picture of what the backend looks like, and the very clear interface, and the and it's colorful and rather intuitive to use. And the nice thing is also that you can customize the backend that someone sees, so that it's basically just set up for them to do their job 1, 2, 3, 4, and not be distracted by what they don't need to see.
It's true that since 2 or 3 years now, it's less and less difficult to sell TYPO3, not because the product is better than the others, because every product are cool and well. That's not really the problem. Now, I think that the customers don't really care about the product.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange, but finally, they don't want absolutely TYPO3 or Drupal or WordPress in their project.
Uh-huh.
They want a project. They want something. Well, they ask with their. They talk about their needs now. And
nice.
It's easier to answer well their needs with TYPO3 than other product. For example, they say that they want something that they want a tool that helps them to manage several languages or several websites, but they don't care about the product behind. And then when we answer that with TYPO3, we answer better than the other project.
That's having been in the web business for quite a long time now, that's really interesting that people are being a little bit less, let's say, religious about the projects now.
Yes.
Because I remember spending a lot of time asking people, but why do you need that? But why do you need that? But why do you need that? To get them to understand the concept of needs. And so you feel that helps you, that helps you sell more projects? That perception?
Yes, because now the customers are experienced and they know what they really need and what they don't really need. So they ask us to give them a solution and not a tool.
That is so interesting. So what would the old way of asking for a project have been when they asked for a tool?
Well, they listed all the functionality they wanted. And sometimes they said, I want TYPO3 or I want Drupal, and then I want that features. And sometimes they also draw already their website templates. So you just have to say, okay, that is the cost. So it was a very old way to answer a project. After that, we told them, well, you shouldn't draw yourself your template and just ask a company to do it for you. And then they always listed the features they wanted. And today they say, okay, our end users need to communicate, our end users need to buy something, or, well, they are more vague in their I don't know how to say it in English. Just a moment, I check in.
You can tell me in French.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cahier des charges.
Aha. So it's the requirements catalog, I think.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
But you're saying that the new solution awareness, they're aware of business goals and processes and different audiences, and then are they asking you to help them solve that problem instead of just telling you, put a thing to click here and a gallery there?
Yes, that's
nice.
Exactly. Yes, it's much better now. And also, they don't ask a web agency only to deliver a technical solution, but also to take care of them during years after that, and take care about other expectations like SEO or UX and so on. So you don't have just to be good in TYPO3, you have to be good in a lot of other things.
Okay, so it's become a holistic relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's must be a more satisfying way to work if you can have a relationship and be involved in their business goals together. That sounds great. Well, good for the customers and good for us for helping them finally understand that. So,
Yes.
so Raquel, who are you? What do you do professionally, personally?
Well, so I do a few things about TYPO3. First, I'm the CTO of a web agency, a French web agency in Nantes. It's just below Paris, but near from the sea. Also,
you're completely, absolutely allowed to pitch your agency. Tell us what's your agency?
Oh, okay. My agency is, it's not easy to pronounce in English, even in French. It's W-Seils. I can't really explain you why we are named like that.
Okay.
But the boss could, because it was an idea. But finally, it's very easy to remember because it's a strange word.
Okay.
So we are a little web agency, but we only make projects with TYPO3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also the lead of the French community, French TYPO3 community, since I don't know 4 or 5 years now, and I organize events in France, TYPO3 Camp every year. Except this year, of course, because it wasn't possible to organize events.
So in case people are listening in the future, we are recording in 2020 when, none of us have been very far from our homes very often so far. And yep, I know what you mean. You're at W-Seils as the CTO. You are the TYPO3 Community Lead in France. You are also on the TYPO3 Association board.
Yes, since this year, I was elected for 2 years. And I also, in an initiative, I work on the Structured Content Initiative since last year. I am leading it's a big initiative. We are a lot of members, so we have 3 groups, and I'm leading the UX one.
Okay, so tell me about the Structured Content Initiative as a whole.
Well, this initiative has a lot of goals, but it's an initiative that is very older than its official birth, because a lot of people want to be able to create customized content and structured content since a lot of years, and there is already extensions that make us able to do it. So why we made that initiative? Mostly because we want something from the core, a solution from the core, but not only we don't want to take an extension and put it in the core as it is today, because today, we have something too complicated. I mean, in terms of UX, but also in terms of data handling, because to be able to, for example, make dynamic columns in a page, we use containers. And you have content that are containers of other content that are containers of other content. And you see what I mean? In some complicated pages, because that exists, the editors have a lot of containers and contents inside, and a lot of buttons and lines, and it's very difficult to handle. And in the database also, it's not really easy to migrate from an extension to another, and to make a difference between the real datas and the let's say positions informations that shouldn't be in the same place.
Right. Separating content and display.
Right. So that's our work. We are trying to solve all that problems. So there is a lot of problems to solve. That's why we made 3 teams. Our teams, the group, the UX group is trying to build a new page module with a dynamic grid content system.
Mm-hmm.
There is a team that are solving all the developers and integrators problems, because it's also complicated for them to, they have a lot of code to do to create a new custom structured content. So they are trying to find a new way, more modern and more fluid, to create the structured content. And there is a rendering group that are working on all the front-end rendering solution to make it possible.
Right. Okay, so tell me I'm interested in the vision right now, because TYPO3 lets us input and output semantic data, and the concept of the content element means that I can attach a caption to an image, or I know it's a text or a phone number or an email. So in that sense, the data is structured, and I know that then I can choose to output that as a web service and not as HTML, for example. So what's the core vision and the core problem the structured content is addressing?
Well, we have to let the agencies and the project existing project continue to exist, and we don't want to destroy everything that already exists, and we have to propose solutions, but our solutions don't have to make that project obsolete and impossible to exist. So what we are proposing is not mandatory, and if someone wants to go on with a full rich text editor page with nothing structured inside, he can, if he wants, if his customer is happy with that.
But you shouldn't.
But you shouldn't. if you want to think in a long-term view, you shouldn't. But for maybe some customer that have little website and they are okay to destroy everything and rebuild from zero at the next time, it's not really important for them.
Okay.
It's true.
So
it's not important.
So, well, yes, okay, but we're supposed to be pure because ideology is more important than practicality. I'm really kidding. So I guess you have considerations in planning this, and not only is it not mandatory, but it needs to have an elegant upgrade path from existing solutions and some concept of some backwards compatibility, I guess.
Yeah. And of course, for a customer that will begin a very new project in the next TYPO3 version, he will have something very solid and something that make the data able to be diffused in different ways and for a very long time. But the reality is that today we have customers that have TYPO3 projects since years and years, and
right.
In each and every migration, everything works always. So this is a very good thing.
Right, and that tradition has to continue. So yes, I know sites that started in version 3 and have been migrated right up to version, through all the different versions along the way, and that's remarkable. There's I forget the name of the philosophical concept where there's a boat on the sea and it's on a voyage. This is a proper there's a proper word for it. I'm sure I'm going to find it and put it in the show notes. But over time you replace a piece and replace a mast and replace the planking and replace the sail, and it's the same ship except it's not any of the original materials, right? And so it's a great design and it's been upgraded a little bit along the way, but essentially you're running the same ship. And I've been very impressed with the return on investment that people can get with TYPO3, installing it and having pretty easy, pretty elegant upgrades over 10 years or more. That's really, really, I think that's another thing. I think that speaks also, I think that helps us in that story about building relationships with people over time. I think that people should hear about that. It's a confidence builder for sure.
Yeah. And I think that maybe that's the reason why we have a long-term relationship with our customers too, because the tool we are working with is a tool for years, and they don't have to destroy everything at each time they want a new website or a new design or a new features.
Yeah. So I admit that I like and use and have been a part of multiple open source projects and even multiple CMSs, and it's a great weakness and it's a great risk to your project if every major version requires a rebuild, and upgrades are hard, and that's a really interesting decision. And the projects that I'm paying attention to right now are converging on a model that's much more like how TYPO3 has been doing it for a long time, where also as a business person in an agency, you know that you would rather not present the opportunity for someone to choose a new system and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
sure.
Yeah. So tell us about the TYPO3 Association and the TYPO3, how that fits into the TYPO3 project and community.
Well, it's a very good question, because if I love that project, I mean TYPO3, it's not only because of the technical reasons and the tool, but also the community. When I learned to develop my first websites, I directly learned with TYPO3, and so I learned everything with TYPO3, and I discovered the open source way to work and the TYPO3 community at the same time, and it's I think a special community. Because this community is a real community. I mean, it's not a market end user community. When we talk about the TYPO3 community, it's the developers, the integrators, not the people who just use the tool and use for free all what the tool can provide. And yes, working with the open source really fit my values, and the way the community is organized also is really interesting, because it's an association. It's not a company. It was not a company first. It was only an association, and everything is really well organized. Of course, there is a lot of things to improve, but when you think that everybody does it just like that, and it's an association, it's, well, for a French person, we are just, well, maybe it's that because a lot of our German are really well organized in their mind, but, well, we don't know how it can work, but it works. And then the association decided to create the TYPO3 GmbH. So now it's much better, because we have that little part of the association who is organized as a company, and that ensure that we have the company is responsible to get the things done in time, because we don't have to forget that there is a new major version each year and a half, and it's a rhythm difficult to respect just
right. That would be hard
administration.
for pure volunteers to keep on top of that, I think.
Yeah. So we are very happy with that. Also, thanks to that organization with TYPO3 GmbH, we have also ELTS. And for our customers, it's great to decide exactly when they will migrate to another version. If they
extended long-term support.
Yes, extending long-term support, it's magic, because when you are a customer, you have a very big platform, and you don't have this year the money to migrate to another version. You can just choose to postpone that, and you have the ability to schedule everything and make something interesting in the good year. When, for example, you want also to rebuild the design, you can migrate at the same time, or on the contrary, choose another year. Well, it's great for the customers and it's great for the agencies.
So does that help you sell more projects and convince more people?
Yes, really, because they know for 5 years, they know exactly what they will have to expense for a migration or for an evolution, or a new feature, and so on. And it's really important for the customers.
So that planning, that planability, is that the key factor for them? The giving them the power over that decision?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So some people would say, well, it's better to sell a rebuild or a migration, a forced migration. But the reality is not like that, because the customer, if they don't have money, they don't have money to migrate, and that's
right.
all.
And you would damage that relationship of trust that we've been talking about with the client in all those ways. And I think it's a huge. If you're running an agency and you come to your client and you say, we could sell you an upgrade now, but instead, here's an option that gives you a lot more time, and we're not making money off of that choice, but it's better for you. That's actually a fantastic way to have that trust and to make sure that they come back to you when they do have the money.
Exactly.
Right. So let's just be clear with this ELTS for a second. I get a new major version of TYPO3 every 18 months, or we get, the core team releases a major version every 18 months. And then for the 18 months following that is fully supported with security and bug fixes and so on. Along the way, and then when the next major version comes out, there's another 18 months where it is fully patched and security supported. So there's a 3-year official project support window that comes from the community by the magic of open source. And then now this is really important for us in Europe, for example, because the GDPR laws, the data privacy and protection and security regulations in the European Union, require us to run supported software and the most up-to-date version and so on. But there's these 3 years that constitutes then officially supported software. Now, if we didn't have the GmbH company with the commercial, so you pay for the next ELTS, so the extended long-term support is 3 more years of security patches, essentially, and backports of something if it's very, very important. I end up with a 6-year window of official support, which is a really long time in the software and the internet world, and the longest support cycle that I know. And one of the really great tricks about the GmbH is that it is the official vendor of the project. So it works completely with the community, but because the project has an official vendor, it can offer official support. And then I feel very strongly that this is a reason why TYPO3 is a great choice for a government project, because you sort of can tick all of the boxes that they need with that. So there's the documentation piece. But so you love this project, and you feel that the association plus a commercial subsidiary gives some stability, and you clearly love the people who have come together to do all of this. What does the association board do? Why did you want to join it?
The board has a few responsibilities, and this year there is a distribution of the responsibilities. We are 8 members with the president, Olivier Daubercault, and
Wait, no, that's Olivier Daubercault.
Daubercault. Okay.
No, I'm only making the joke because he's half French, half German, so I'm sure that, you know, right?
I think he really insists that we don't say Oliver, but Olivier. It's very important for him.
Yes, absolutely.
And well, we have some responsibilities. Personally, I have the responsibility of the events, also the project strategy and the budget also. And yes, there is a lot of different responsibilities. So what we are doing is to help the existing team to get things done and to make as possible the communication between the GmbH and the association teams better, and be sure that everything is going okay. Yes, also the General Assembly, I have that responsibility too. Organize some administrative events, of course, the General Assembly, the QSA, and so on. And we meet every 2 weeks to talk about the different problems to solve and how we will solve them. We have a lot of work to also redesign the processes and the organization of the different teams and committees and initiatives.
So as a board, the TYPO3 Association board members are responsible also for some execution of their responsibilities?
Well, we have tasks to execute, so we are doing things, but we are mostly trying to help the teams and the team's leaders to do the responsibility they have.
Right. Because, so supporting the volunteers and the teams.
Yes.
And one of the wonderful practical aspects of the TYPO3 community is that the association has a budget through memberships and sponsorships and so on to actually facilitate and give the team leads resources when they need them and so on. I think it's a very powerful model in this community.
Right. Exactly.
So why did you want to be on the board?
Well, it didn't really came to my mind just like that. Someone told me, well, you could. And I said, really? And okay, I could. And then it came to my mind, and I asked to myself, well, what could I do for the community, for the board? And what was interesting for the board, they told me that it was interesting for them to have someone not German. Because we really need to think as first maybe more European and then more worldwide, because there is users from whole the globe. So it's difficult to guess what the other community really needs and how they want to communicate and work. So well, that was one reason. The other reason was also that I was a woman, and they really want to have a community with as women as possible.
Sure.
Well, it's not a TYPO3 problem. It's more an IT problem. There is not a lot of women working in that kind of. Well, yes, IT is always mostly handled by men, but less and less, I would say.
I think that's really changing, and I think that if you look at the responsible senior people in TYPO3, there's a really good gender diversity, and there's a lot of very influential, important, technical figures who are women. So and yeah, there's always a chicken and egg problem with the diversity, but I think that TYPO3 is doing quite well. I'm also, I don't think that we should ever sort of stop and say, okay, it's enough now, but yeah. I'm also interested, I have a personal stake, I think, in the expansion beyond Europe. And there's a little bit of TYPO3 in Italy. There is some in France. There's quite a bit going on in Africa, which is really exciting. And there's the Eastern European, the Romanian community, and a growing interest in India again, which is really nice to see. Are you involved in any of that sort of expansion, or are you talking with Francophone African developers or governments at all?
Well, I was asked by Daniel Omorodin, that is handling that expansion project. And well, I don't have enough time in my day. I have only 24 hours per day, like everybody. So it was impossible for me to do that. But I helped him to find some mentors, French mentors, because yes, in Africa there is a lot of French-speaking people, so he needed French mentors. I think I found one. Maybe he has more than one French participant for that project.
So I have a segment that I'd like to have on the show, and it's called the Suggest a Guest. So I'd like you to suggest who we should get in touch with to speak about TYPO3 and why.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of names. I just one
No,
guess.
give me three. Give me three.
Okay. Of course, I would like Benny to participate that interview, because I think that Benny is one of involved and inspiring members.
Okay. That's a really easy answer, though.
Yes, of course, but you asked me. Another name would be, I would like Petra to participate also.
Yes, okay.
Why?
Petra Hasenau.
Yes, she's from the board too, and she has a non-technical, very interesting point of view. So I think you would have a very interesting conversation with her. Another one.
I was speaking with Petra yesterday.
Oh, so. Okay. And well, it's difficult to choose because I know so much now people in the community.
Sure.
Oh yes, I have a suggestion. A very new members of the Structured Content Initiative from the US, and I'm very happy that we have a US member. His name is Paul Hansen. Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Okay, good stuff. I have taken note. That's great. So your Suggest a Guest is Benny Mac, Petra Hasenau, and Paul Hansen. And Petra, because she has a really interesting non-technical position, and she's also on the board, and she really cares a lot. Paul Hansen, because he's from the US, and we need to spread the word over there, and he's in the Structured Content Initiative, so that'll be quite interesting to talk about. And then Benny Mac, because he's Benny Mac. I think I'm gonna revise the Suggest a Guest to say, suggest anybody except Benny Mac. Okay, so next question. What is the coolest thing you ever built with TYPO3?
The coolest thing I've ever built with TYPO3. You mean a project? Okay. I love build intranet. Instead of website, I prefer building intranet because there is more interaction between the end users and the editors and webmasters, and there is more UX behind, because well, now when you build a website, it has to be beautiful, but it's very simple and you don't have a lot of features now. So if you want to build better features, it's more intranet. And yes, the latest intranet we built was very cool because it was a project we have since years with a customer. First, this customer was research industry. No, it's more an institution because it's more a public institution. The research are about, well, there is a lot of topics. So let's say it's a research institution, and it has two fusion with other institution. And last year, the fusion was with a lot of university. And now this customer is the biggest French university.
Wow. In
number of students, in number of searchers, it's a very big institution. And then we built their intranet, and it was a very interesting project because the design was built by themselves, but with a very good designer. And the design is really modern, and the features also are, well, a little bit complicated, but it was very interesting to build them. So we made that.
Sometimes that's more fun, right?
Yes, and also we built this intranet in very a few days. Why? Because it was an intranet we already built 3 times with the customer. Each time the fusion was with another institution. We take the intranet and we had few things, and we take it and we had few things. So this intranet is very mature. And when they asked us, well, could you build us an intranet? We said yes, and with a lot of features, but in a very few times. So we won that project because we were the less expensive than the others.
Because they'd already paid you for it before.
Yes, but also because we knew how to build it, and well. Again, with TYPO3, you don't have to begin from zero each time. You can take something and make it better and better in years. And yes, we are very proud of that project.
Nice. Are you allowed to say what university it was?
Yes, it's very easy to remember because it's the same name than the Tour Eiffel. It's Gustave Eiffel.
Okay. The Eiffel University. Which would mean something completely different in Germany because the Eifel, not Eiffel, but Eifel is a region just south of here, known for hot springs and wine. So, what are your favorite features of TYPO3?
Yes, the page 3, of course. It's so logical and easy to understand what's happening in the navigation of a website, and also because it's possible to have in one interface the global picture of all the structure of your website. And I say your websites because you can have more than one inside only page 3. And I think that was the first way to build in TYPO3 since the beginning of the tool. And this thing has never changed. And I'm very happy with that because it was the best feature and the best thinking of Casper when he built that interface.
Yeah, that hierarchical picture of the structure, it's so interesting that it made sense in 1999, I guess, when he was building it for that version of the internet, and how you have a home page and sub pages, and then it made perfect sense that became the menu. And then over time, as the internet grew and TYPO3's functionality grew, it's so fascinating that the same structures and the same data structures essentially also let you cascade permissions, let you assign URLs and domains to them, and whether it's editing permissions or central style choices, it just flows through that thing, and you have a visual representation there. It's very helpful, and editors really like knowing exactly where their stuff is too, I've noticed. Okay.
Right.
So what is something that people don't know about TYPO3 that they should? You said, one suggestion is that it's not all gray with very tiny buttons in the background anymore, right? Like the admin interface is attractive and useful and responsive, and you can do it on your phone. But you kind of touched on that before already.
Yes, maybe they don't. The customers, the end users, sometimes don't know that it's possible to personalize the interface really on their needs. A lot of time, I met customers that had only admin account. And that's why they said, well, the interface is very complicated, but they shouldn't have that interface. They are not administrator. And then they discovered that it was possible to simplify the interface for them and just put their the good modules, the good page tree part, the good contents, the good field in each forms.
Right.
It's so possible.
And then remove all the noise that they don't need to see.
Yeah. So yes, a lot of customers don't know that it's possible, and a lot of agencies don't take the time to make it. And it's very, yes, it's a pity, because it's one of the most important feature of the tool.
Right, and we really need to keep in mind the people who use our websites every day. The thing that we build for a week or a month or half a year and then hand off to them, they have to go there from 9 to 5 every day, Monday to Friday, for years, right? And if it's efficient and pleasant, they'll be happier, right? And they'll do a better job. And we really, we should help those people because we're essentially making the thing that they work with every day.
Yeah.
Nice. So what have I forgotten to ask you?
Oh, I don't think you have forgot to ask me anything. No, I don't have any questions.
What's your favorite open source project?
TYPO3.
Okay. So, thank you so much for taking the time and helping me with this first version of trying to get these recorded. Thank you so much for your contribution and your work and being part of the open source world. It's great. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thanks to the TYPO3 Association for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you, B13 and Stephanie Kreutzer, for our logo. Shout out to the magnifique Patrick Gaumont, TYPO3 developer and musician extraordinaire, for the studio demo rough cut of our beautiful theme music. Thanks again to today's guest, Rachel Foucard. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe on the podcast app of your choice and share with your friends and colleagues. If you want to suggest a guest for us to have on the podcast, or if you have a question or comment, reach out to us on Twitter at TYPO3 Podcast. You can find show notes, links, and more information in our posts on typo3.org.